They're all mad. Kathy Greg's like,
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Go Local Live at the Rhode Island State House. I'm Go Local News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for the show today. There's a lot going on, and I'm pleased to welcome Majority Leader Joe Shekarchi. Thank you for joining us today.
my pleasure. Always love coming on with you, the great Kate Nagel, and our good friends at Go Local.
Well, I appreciate being up here, being able to get access to the legislators, and there's so much going on politically right now. But have to ask you, the news that Go Local broke this week, Warwick Mayor Scott Avedisian leaving for RIPTA. You represent District 23 in Warwick.
That is correct. Scott Avedisian is leaving in Warwick, and I do represent District 23.
So the question is, do you have any interest in the mayor's seat?
Being mayor of Warwick is a great job. It's a great opportunity. It's something that I've thought about for a long time. I used to work in the mayor's office in Warwick, but politics, as in life, everything's about timing, and this is not my time. I will not be running for mayor. As a matter of fact, I'll make an announcement now on your show that I will be running for re-election in my district, House 23 in Warwick. I take great responsibility with my constituents, the work I do there. I want to stay there. I think there's a lot of good things I have yet to accomplish in the General Assembly. My new role as Majority Leader, I take very seriously. My members of the caucus supported me for Majority Leader. I made a commitment to them to stay, finish the term, and do a good job. And I'm enjoying the role, so I plan on staying as Majority Leader.
So before we tack back here to the State House, let's talk a little bit about Warwick. So now is not the time for Mayor of Warwick. Talk with us a little bit about what you think of Scott Avedisian's legacy as he moves on to RIPTA.
I cannot say enough nice things about Scott personally, but also professionally, for the job that he has done in the city of Warwick. First of all, he's the longest serving mayor in the history of the city. He's been on the council for 10 years. He's been in the mayor's office for over 18 years. He's run the city in a very bipartisan, professional manner. He works for a person, an ability of coalition building. He does a tremendous job, and he's going to have great success at RIPTA. I'm happy for him, and I don't think this is the last you've heard of Scott Avedisian. I think he'll be very active in the community for many years to come. He's a talented individual, and Warwick's loss is the state's gain, and specifically RIPTA's gain, in getting someone with Scott Avedisian's talents there.
And so Warwick, with this now, folks looking at who's going to be the next mayor, what are going to be the deciding factors? What does Warwick need in a mayor as folks are looking at that position?
Warwick needs someone very experienced, someone who understands the budget process, someone who has experience in the city council. Being mayor today in any city and town, but especially Warwick, is not an easy thing. You have the police union, the fire union, the teachers union, which we know has been a very difficult issue in the history of Warwick, municipal workers. You have a lot of development. You have the airport. There's only one person I can think of who has that ability, and I believe it's his time, someone extremely talented, and that's the City Council President, Joe Solomon. I'll be supporting Joe. Joe is an accountant. Joe is a lawyer. Joe served as a municipal judge in Warwick. He's got the temperament, the talent, and the passion to continue what he's been doing on the council. He has worked very good with Scott Avedisian. He's also what I would consider someone pro-taxpayer, pro-development. Joe understands it. Joe Solomon is who I'll be supporting for mayor, and he's a very talented individual.
Have you been having conversations with him since the news this week?
I did. I called Joe Solomon today. I told him I was coming on your show, Go Local Live, to announce that I wasn't running and I will be supporting him. As a matter of fact, I'll be hosting a fundraiser for Joe next month.
Okay, well, that's part of the talk that's been going on this week. A lot of political talk, but we're back here after recess. Tell us about your agenda for the rest of the year that you are looking to see accomplished.
Well, I'm still working on my specific bills. Some of them are Warwick bills, some of them are airport bills, my mastectomy bill, which is a very important bill.
She spoke about last time we had you on.
And I'm also working on my pet groomers regulation bill. I'm trying to come to consensus with the stakeholders on that. But more importantly, as Majority Leader, I have to look at the calendar every day. I have to floor manage the bills. And obviously the biggest issue, our biggest responsibility as a House is the budget. In the first week or two in May, we'll be getting our budget forecast. We're going to put together a budget, and that's our single biggest responsibility. So I'm working collaboratively with our Finance Chairman, Marvin Abney from Newport, the Speaker, the House Fiscal Staff, and also with the members, and all members, not just the Democratic members, but I work very well with the Republican members. We have a busy agenda, a calendar. It's election year. We're going to try to get out relatively early. That's the hope. But obviously, the people's work is very important. We have to get it done, and we will get it done.
And talk a little bit, last time I had the Speaker on the show here, we talked that he was having conversations with the ownership of the Pawtucket Red Sox. Do you expect we'll see something before the end of the assembly session?
I don't know, and pun intended or no pun intended, the final inning of that game hasn't been played yet. I can tell you honestly, there is very fruitful, very passionate, and very constructive discussions going on between the House fiscal staff and the stakeholders, the city of Pawtucket and the Pawtucket Red Sox. I don't know. I have not been a part of those, discussions, but I know they've been productive and fruitful. I know that everybody's working hard. Everybody would like to see a deal that keeps the Paw Sox here in Rhode Island, in Pawtucket specifically, but also that's what I would call taxpayer friendly or protects the taxpayer. So those two, parties, or all the three parties involved, are working passionately to get it done. I don't know the answer to that, and that's the truth. And we'll have to wait and see. But I will point out we still have about 60 days for the legislative season, and this could happen at any time because this is an issue that we've been talking about for 2 years. It's been vetted. The Senate had many public hearings. The House has had hearings. We're continuing this process. The House had a caucus about the Paw Sox. We're going to work hard to do the best we can for the taxpayers of Rhode Island.
So while I have you here, have to talk a little politics as well. We have seen...
No. Kate Nagel is going to talk politics. I have breaking news for GoLocal. Kate Nagel is going to talk politics.
Going to talk politics. The GOP has been very much on the attack against the Speaker regarding the Board of Elections, the money he had to return to the leadership PAC, and also the Shauna Lawton mailer. What have your discussions been with the Speaker around this?
There hasn't been a lot of discussions, believe it or not. We were actually working on stuff. The money was paid out of one account. It should have been paid out of another account. Look, a mistake was made. The Speaker acknowledged the mistake. He took corrective action for the mistake, and he hired a CPA to prevent it from happening again. There was no fines at all. There was no penalty at all. There was a warning, this is the best practice to do it and don't do it again. I don't think it's really going to play out there a lot in the community. I understand it's political season. I understand that Republicans, have to say this. But I don't, when you say the Republicans, it hasn't been really the House caucus, Republican caucus, maybe one particular member saying things. But the reality is we have work to do every day in this General Assembly. These distractions, or noise as they call them, will not impact our ability to carry out our agenda every day.
And speaking of politics, I have to ask you about another Warwick mayor. It's going to be an interesting primary for the U.S. Senate race. Do you think this is going to be a very interesting time as we see Lincoln Chafee looking to primary Sheldon Whitehouse?
If he, in fact, does go through with this, and I know Link, and I like him, and I respect him, but as we all know, he is a person who has a great deal of ability to change his mind at any time, and that's certainly his prerogative. So if he goes through with this, let's preface by that, it will be interesting. I have to say this, as someone like Kate Nagel, who follows politics, this was a little bit of a come out of left field, Fenway Park, the big monster left field.
Staying on the baseball theme.
Staying on the baseball theme. So we have to wait and see if he actually goes through with it. But he'll be interesting, and it'll certainly be a spirited race. He has the personal resources to put a competitive race on. He's got name recognition. Sheldon Whitehouse is also a very talented senator. He and Link, which is very usual dynamic of Rhode Island politics, they're very friendly. And their children are friendly. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. But Sheldon Whitehouse has had a political operation up and running in the state for 6 to 9 months. He is very committed to the race. He takes it seriously. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Link Chafee is a wild card, and we'll see if he goes through with this.
And speaking of the news this week as well, Matt Brown looking to run in the Democratic primary for the governor's race. What's your thoughts on that?
Interesting. Has been out of politics for a long time. I think he realized, I'm not going to speak for Matt Brown. I haven't talked to him in about 8 or 9 years, but I think he realizes that there was really no path to victory for him to run as an independent. And I think he needed to look at, if I'm going to, really make seriously, what's the best avenue for him? He decided that his best path was to run a Democratic primary. I don't know. Governor, who I am supporting, is very committed as well to the race, has a lot of resources, seems very much aware and takes the candidacy of the election cycle very seriously. She'll have the resources to put together a ground game. A Democratic primary is a ground game. She's made very good inroads in the traditional Democratic base. It's going to be hard for Matt Brown to break that, but he has every right to run. This is a free country, and this is part of the democratic process. So it'll be interesting, and we'll see how it all plays out. I expect races in the General Assembly. I expect, races in the state level. So it's going to be a fun year. And for those people like GoLocal who follow politics so passionately, like Kate Nagel does, this is a windfall for you guys.
It's an exciting year. You can check out. We have on GoLocal today. The big story was how much politics has changed here in the last 48 hours. Be sure to check it out. I'm going to let you go, Majority Leader. I appreciate your time today.
I'll love to come back anytime. Always love to see the great Kate Nagel and come on TV and GoLocal as well, and give my best to all the good people at GoLocal.
Well, appreciate your taking the time to come here on live at the State House. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our next guest. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rhode Island State House. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for the special Thursday edition of Live at the State House. Want to let you know the breaking news on GoLocal nationally. If you have not seen, Bill Cosby found guilty. You can read that on GoLocalProv.com. But all the news is taking place up here as we speak. Senator James Chan, thank you for joining us on Live as today. We just had Majority Leader Joe Shekarchi on.
Freudian slip, perhaps. Yeah.
To talk about, again, this is, we talked about a number of things, but he is not, in fact, looking to run for Warwick Mayor now that Scott Evedijan is going to head up RIPTA. Talked about a few other things as well. But we're going to switch chambers. We're going to head over to the Senate side, talk with the senator about legislation to reform the magistrate process. Yes. This has been a very big issue in the state, not just this year, in the last several years, to make it a merit-based process as opposed to the one that we have now. Common Cause is behind this. What are you hearing from folks with this particular piece of legislation?
I'm hearing, well, it depends on the folks who you talk to. It's pretty quiet inside the Beltway, so to speak. But with good government groups and others, certainly very supportive. Magistrates are effectively junior judges. They do many of the things and have many of the powers of judges, yet they're picked by the chief justice of that court. So it's family court, the chief judge of the family court that nominates that person, and then they get advice consent of the Senate, and they serve for a 10-year term. Now, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that for two reasons. One, are we getting the best qualified candidate is one. So I'm uncomfortable with that. I'd like to rather see them go through a judicial nominating commission that regular judges go through, that's well vetted. They get testimony, they scrutinize those candidates, and the governor ultimately picks. The other is a lot of people just don't know if it's a connected thing. You know, it gives that appearance. I don't think that's good. And particularly, I don't want to see one branch of government selecting their own. You don't see a senator selecting another senator. You don't see a representative selecting another senator. I'm just uncomfortable. It's a disservice to even those candidates that become magistrates because of that appearance that it's not about what you know, but the who you know.
And you talk about the pushback from inside the Beltway, inside the Benefit Street sort of complex, if you will. Besides having the rationale of saying why they want to be able to choose it, I mean, the opposition, they know the optics that the public is paying attention to this legislation. Is it a time frame issue? Is it, how are they saying besides, is it just we know best?
Well, it's funny you say that. I haven't really heard many arguments in opposition. This might be one that's better discussed for some people out of the public eye and not necessarily in the public eye. I don't know what the argument is, because I think if you really want to get the public behind the courts and have the most confidence in them, you want to make certain that you have what are verifiably, to the best of our ability, the best candidates selected on their merits, their abilities, and not basically who they might know.
And so we talk about what you're hearing from constituents and the general public, but what do you think the chances are of it up here? You've got the Senate side, of course, a House companion. Is there potential for it this year?
I can't really say. I don't know. I would say that the odds are probably more aligned against it than in favor of it. But this is one of those things that just wasn't long ago. We had the ethics amendment, which was very unpopular inside the Beltway, so to speak. But ultimately, if you get enough public support, they understand the legislation and they know it's for the public good, they get behind it. So this is a multi-year effort, and I'm willing to stay the course.
Okay, we're going to continue to keep eyes on this, but one of the questions I have to ask legislators as I've been up here, since I've had conversations with the Speaker, Pawsox. It looks like the Speaker of the House has been in conversations with the ownership of the Pawtucket Red Sox after we saw very quickly going into session the approval on the Senate side, stalled on the House side. What do you think the prospects are?
I don't know. It's really been operating on the House side. I've only heard from people I talked to that there may be a possibility, outside possibility, that they find a deal that would satisfy people concerned. I'm one of the people that has been concerned. We've talked about this, about the public not really being saddled with a stadium they can't use should anything go awry with the Pawtucket Red Sox or their ability to pay the state back essentially for that rent.
And we've seen the vetting process. We saw the vetting process leading up to the Senate approval again back in January. We're here. It's the end of April. We talk about how many more days we have left now in the session.
Right.
But would we have to go through the process once again if it's something completely different than what we saw go through the Senate the first time?
Depends upon what the solution is. I'm not at liberty to say what I've heard. Goes based on confidential agreement that I don't repeat it. But there's a possibility that you could actually have the same bill and that you could provide some assurances that the public won't get stuck holding the bag, but somebody else might.
Very interesting as we keep an eye on what's going on here at the Rhode Island State House. But again, wanted to bring some light to this magistrate legislation. Would you call it good government, open government?
Good government. I mean, you want to have the best outcomes. And if we have the best magistrates, I think that breeds confidence in the courts and provides essentially on the ground greater justice to be served.
We'll provide a link to that bill number for you, but I just wanted to, again, get the senator here on live to talk a little bit more about it.
I think we could raise the bar, is what I guess we'd say.
Raise the bar, says Senator Sheehan. I appreciate your taking the time to come all the way across here at the Senate chamber in the back. Senator Sheehan, thank you for coming on live. Kate. I appreciate it. We'll let you go. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rhode Island State House and GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us today. We did kick off with Majority Leader Joe Shekarchi. One of the burning questions around the state, would he be interested in running for the seat soon to be vacated by Warwick Mayor Scott Avedisian? The answer is no. He is focused solely on the State House, talked about the issues at hand up here. Had the opportunity to talk as well with Senator James Sheehan about his bill pertaining to the magistrate selection process. Wants to make it a merit-based one, not an appointment one. We'll have that link to that bill up as well. But speaking of politics, we're going to be tacking back downtown to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Former State Representative Ray Rickman will kick off with his big view. We'll also have the ripple effect. This is the DOT's campaign to raise awareness for impaired driving. And speaking of big political news, a new entrant into the Providence mayoral race will be in studio at GoLocal. So take a little break. We'll see you at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center at 4. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.